What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down what's going on with the overall stock market, how this could affect NIO, and what my price prediction is for Monday. Now, before I break anything down about this, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 7 free stocks, and any could be a free NIO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 2 weeks. Make sure you check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. NIO is down 2.82% for the day on Friday, and the real question is what's going to happen for Monday. Now, seeing the fact that there is a very dire situation for the banks, you need to be prepared for anything just in case. Please remember that NIO has very strong support around this $8 range, between 8 and like 8.1. And if anything, this is holding up NIO so far, but this is a very important level to watch just in case, because if NIO breaks below $8, there's a lot of room for downside, unfortunately. Now, this does not mean it has to happen immediately. I'm not saying it's going to happen that way. I'm just saying you need to be prepared for it just in case we get hit with some very unexpected news affecting another bank and also from the Fed. Now, you also have to remember that we have the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. The Fed is going to give us their big rate hike decision. If the Fed pauses, the whole market is most likely going to rally. But if the Fed gives us another rate hike and they continue to maintain a hawkish stance, given the fact that inflation is still very hot and very high relative to their target, this could also shake the markets, especially after Wednesday. Now, as we approach the date, we need to be very cautious, and please remember that if the market does end up like dropping very hard as we approach the big day, there's a good chance the market could bounce off the Fed meeting if we see us initially pull back first. But if the market continues to pop and we start to see the market just keep pushing and pushing, then there's a good chance the Fed could be the thing that causes the market to reverse and maybe even crash. I want everyone to be prepared just in case for both situations. On SPY, make sure you watch the 388.56 zone, because that's where support was holding us up so far. If we break below that, then there's about this 385 zone followed by about 383. I don't think it's going to drop that much. I actually think that the odds favor us getting a bounce, but I once again want to prepare you guys for the bearish possibilities just in case. Now, I don't really think we're going to drop that hard. I think the odds do favor the market trying to rebound for either Monday or Tuesday, or maybe even both days. And here's exactly why I think that. The first thing to look at is the put to call ratio. Now, the put to call ratio does not guarantee anything, because even though this was working out the way I was thinking for all of last week except for Friday, you have to remember that it still can actually give us some good information. The market makers will benefit if they push the market to about 394, if they push SPY up and SPY actually continues to rally, and we get a 2.08 put to call ratio, which tells me it does technically favor those odds. Looking specifically at SPY's overall flow in terms of its overall put volume and call volume, you could see there's been a lot more put volume for Monday and also for Tuesday. We're seeing a lot more puts being bought. Look at the open interest of them. This is once again all suggesting that the majority of individuals are in the shorts, and they might actually try. This might actually lead them to once again getting a small squeeze. Once again, I'm not promising it, but it does favor that because of how the market makers move things and how it will benefit them. So what else is worth noting is when you look at the VIX, the QQQ came down a little bit. It was down about Where's my QQQ? 0.47%. It actually held up pretty nicely. And there's a good chance it might try to keep going. There is a chance it might bounce off these levels, might pull back a little, maybe gap down to like 303 or so, and then get a bounce from there. And it might try to keep fighting on, because overall the trend is not necessarily broken. It's not necessarily dead. But I was mentioning the VIX is up almost 11%. When the VIX is up over 10%, we tend to get an opposite reaction the next day, the large majority of the time. meaning the VIX is most likely going to get dragged down very soon, most likely on Monday. Most likely the VIX is going to cool off a bit, and this is likely going to happen because of the market pushing up. If the market's pushing up, this could help NIO push up as well. Now, when it comes to NIO, I want to note that we had 38 million in volume. It's a little bit less than the average, and we did drop on that. This tells us that overall, we are getting some selling pressure on NIO, and it's not too horrible, but at the same time, it is actually making up the majority of NIO's volume. On top of that, NIO is still giving us some good fundamental improvements. They have the next winter experience 2023. This is pretty awesome in my opinion, and it really helps them really appeal to different people out there, get their brand out there, and more people are going to learn about NIO's unique capabilities and their products. Now, despite these big fundamental moves, there's no guarantee it's going to help the share price immediately, because once again, NIO is being dictated by the markets. Look at how NIO is comparing to the SPY right here. You can see there's a interesting comparison, but NIO has been relatively weak over the last couple of months. Compared to the triple Q, we can also see something very similar. Once again, very similar trend. It's been especially weak recently, especially after that really bad earnings that came out. It wasn't necessarily great. And unless NIO improves it, this could actually continue. We have a very weak price pairs ratio. This once again tells us that NIO is relatively weak. It's not really outperforming. We're not getting the same momentum, but we need a catalyst in order for that to happen. And so far, NIO is not getting it. So I don't expect NIO to make a massive move unless Powell and the Fed cause it later on. NIO tends to be green only 49% of the time on Mondays. So the odds are kind of against her historically, at least to some degree. And the overall short interest has been actually increasing again. We actually saw about 2.6 million shares shorted just on Thursday, and then on Friday went up to about 5 million. So we saw millions of new NIO short positions come out, and that happens to be correlated with NIO coming down. So there was a lot of shorting that happened, high levels of put volume on NIO. But the real question is, what is NIO going to do now? Be prepared to watch $8 just in case. All right, that's the more bearish possibility. The more bullish possibility is NIO breaking this 50 EMA on the hourly, breaking above 8.5 and getting all the way up to 8.74 again, and maybe breaking above that. What do I think is going to happen? I think something kind of in the middle, a little bit more in favor of the bulls. I think the market's going to try to rebound. Once again, be prepared for anything, but I'm just saying I think the market's most likely going to try to rebound a bit. And we might see NIO continue to base around the very low 8s. And I think NIO might try to push for the 50 EMA and fight for 8.5 and close somewhere in the green for Monday. That is just my prediction. Once again, be prepared for anything just in case, but I do think NIO has the potential to try to get a push. I think NIO might gap down in the morning. I think the whole market might gap down a bit, then find a bottom bounce, and then start pushing up near the later hours of the day. And I think NIO will get dragged up thanks to that to the mid $8 range, once again closing somewhere in the green. That's my prediction. Thank you all so much for listening. Have an absolutely incredible rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is still very bright. NIO still has immense squeeze potential, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.